Hello and welcome to this special edition of Restarting India. I'm Shireen Bhan. The news coming in on the COVID front is almost suggesting a different picture for the nation versus a different picture for two urban centres, Mumbai and Delhi. As far as the nation is concerned, we're now inching closer to the 16 lakh mark. But when it comes to cities like Mumbai and Delhi, the news is heartening. There is a slowing down of infection. In fact, the head of the National COVID Task Force, Dr. Vinod Paul, in his conversation with me, seems to suggest that the worst could be behind us, at least as far as Delhi and Mumbai is concerned, something that has been corroborated by a member of the Maharashtra COVID Task Force as well, Dr. Shashank Joshi, in his conversations with us. But to hear more about what things on the ground look like and, more importantly, what the strategies will be to chase the virus, with us is the man on the front line, the BMC Commissioner, Iqbal Chahal. Mr. Chahal, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18, and thanks very much for your time. Let me start by asking you about what the data is telling you. Is the worst behind the city of Mumbai and the region? And more importantly, how is the strategy now going to change if you do believe that the R0 is down below 1?
Well, thanks first of all at the outset. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity today. I would like to share certain hard facts with you to begin with. Today is 30th of July, and let us compare things to 30th of June. Now, on 30th of June, we had 76,000 total cumulative positives in Mumbai under MCGM, and today we have 110,000. But that day we had 28,000 active cases. Now, despite this increase, active cases have gone to just 20,000 now. They've decreased 8,000. Next, if you see our doubling rate, it has shot up from 41 last month, 30th June, to 72 yesterday. And if you see the discharge, the total people who are discharged and at home and in the normal life, it was 57%, now it is 76%. Similarly, if you see our positivity means when you do certain number of tests, how many are coming positive? It was 24%. Now we are down to just about 9.8%. And the most important is something called R. What is R? R is the rate of infection, and it was 1.5. And yesterday, for the first time, it came below 1, which is yesterday we had 0.97. So all these facts and figures, and one more, we had 11,000 symptomatic patients last month, and yesterday, though we have 22,000 positives, but we only 5,000 symptomatic patients, remaining 17,000 almost. They're actually asymptomatic with no symptoms and quarantined at their homes, which means that today we have only 5,000 people who are actually on our hospital beds.
Okay. Well, several interesting data points that you've thrown our way, and that does paint an optimistic picture about where Mumbai currently stands. But Mr. Chahal, let me ask you in the context of what you said, that the R0 is now below 1. Now, what we've seen globally with countries like the UK, etc., when the R0 has fallen below 1, they have decided to take on a much more liberal approach when it comes to reopening. Now, Maharashtra, along with the national guidelines, has announced its unlock policy for this next phase up until the 31st of August. But there doesn't seem to be much change in the guidelines. I mean, beyond incremental tweaking, the guidelines remain the same when it comes to reopening. So if you feel that the slowing of the infection is on the right track, you do have enough hospital capacity, ICU beds, etc., then why not a little more liberal reopening?
This is a very valid question you're asking me. And I'm personally a strong supporter of opening up everything. And as I mentioned a couple of days back in one of the interviews, Mumbai basically, MCGM has a population of roughly 20 million now. And we have another 20 million just abutting MCGM, which we call as MMR, the Mumbai Metropolitan Region. Now, MMR has 8 municipal corporations, starting from Vasai, Virar to Mira Bhayandar to Kalyan, Dombivli, Bhiwandi, Ulhasnagar, Thane, Navi Mumbai, Panvel. Now, this entire area abutting us This also has additional 20 million people. Now, when we open up Mumbai, whether it is trains, whether it is buses, the boundaries disappear. And this 40 million people become like a single unit. Right now, what happened is that though we are extremely comfortable, in fact, we are in a position where we can open up everything, but things are totally different in this MMR region. And like, for example, local trains, they all start from Kasara, Kalyan, or Vasai or Nala Sopwara. And they bring in almost 6 million people every day into downtown Mumbai. Now, the infection there is very high. The cases are coming very high. We have 20,000 active cases, only 5,000 odd symptomatic. They have now 40,000 active cases. So that is the cause of worry for us. The moment they come down to our level, I can assure you that things will open up in a big way.
Okay, so you're saying that till the outskirts of Mumbai, the larger region, also starts to see a slowing down and perhaps an R0 below 1, till then we should not expect a recommendation from the Maharashtra government to aggressively push public transportation, local trains. So that is not something that we should look at all, at least over the next month or so. And that's not even part of the guidelines that's been unveiled.
No, I'll just explain on that. Since 3rd of June, now it's almost will be 2 months next week. We open up 50% of the shops in Mumbai on one day and 50% other days, which means in a calendar of 48 hours, the entire or 100% of Mumbai shops open up. Then as far as BES is concerned, which is under MCGM, we have 4,000 buses. And today they are running at full capacity. All 4,000 buses are on the roads. We have approximately 10 million people who are on the roads of Mumbai today for the last almost 55 days. So it is not that Mumbai is shut up or it is under lockdown. Now, the only thing left out in the shopping sector was the malls. And now we are opening the malls also, saying that only the eatables will be, restaurants will have to wait. Otherwise, all shops will open up there also.
But sir, Mr. Chahal, you know, there's a contradiction there. There's a contradiction there. I want to address the public transportation issue a little bit further, but I'll come to that in just a second. You talked about reopening malls. Malls have been allowed to reopen without restaurants being allowed to reopen within malls, etc. Eateries are not allowed to reopen. But then you also have a restriction on people not traveling for non-essential travel. Long-distance, non-essential travel is not allowed and not permitted. So doesn't it make the reopening of malls then redundant? Or is mall going now as part of an essential service?
No, as far as Mumbai's population of 20 million is concerned, with certain riders that we are requesting people, it's only a request, it's not a compulsion. We are requesting people that those who are more than 65 years of age, young children, as far as possible, they should avoid coming in crowded areas, they should avoid coming out of the flats in their own well-being. Otherwise, like if they come, there is no taboo on them that why they have come. So our 20 million people, they are free to move around in Mumbai, and there is no restriction on them. And they are welcome to visit these malls when they open up, or they're welcome to visit all the shops which are opened up now. But
Mr. Chahal, we've heard horror stories and we've seen horrific visuals of cars being impounded, two-wheelers being impounded because the Mumbai police said that, you know, you're not out for essential travel and hence action should be taken. So if you're giving this voice of confidence saying that things should return back to normal in Mumbai, that doesn't seem to be the ground reality.
No, what you mentioned is almost a month back. That time, things were not as comfortable as that today. So we were only very cautious and guarded in our approach. Even now, Honorable CM says that we should forget the word lockdown. We should bury this word lockdown, and we should only think of Mission Begin Again, and which is our state government policy, Mission Begin Again. And how do we go in a graded fashion to the logical end of total opening up? So step by step, we intend to open up. Supposing we see that in 15 days' time, MMR improves, you see without any further clarification, we'll open up other things also. But everything has to happen in a graded fashion. We don't want to come back to lockdown ever again.
Okay, that's very important what you're saying. So you're saying that there could be a decision that could happen even midway. So it's not necessary that this guideline that's been announced last night will stay in place to the 31st. If the government gets confidence of the larger MMR region, you could change and reopen much faster earlier as well. And it's very important what you said, that we must bury the concept of lockdown. So what we've seen happen is this reimposition of lockdowns in Aurangabad, in Pune, etc. So are we given to understand that that is a thing of the past? Because business is complaining, traders are complaining, citizens are complaining that this has led to absolute chaos and uncertainty. So is the reimposition of these mini lockdowns also a thing of the past?
No, in fact, yesterday we had a cabinet meeting in which I was also present. Honorable CM vehemently mentioned in the cabinet meeting that we should bury the word lockdown, and these short lockdowns of 2 days, weekend lockdown, 7 days of no use, because this virus has a 14-day cycle. Either you have lockdown for more than 14 days or you don't have it at all. The concept of having 2 days, 7 days is absolutely irrelevant. And this is exactly what Honorable CM mentioned, that let us bury the word lockdown, but we should be so guarded that we should not say something like a second wave hitting us.
No, I understand, and there is no room for complacency. So what is the strategy going to be, sir? I know that testing has gone up considerably in Mumbai in comparison to the testing that we've seen across other cities in India. Yesterday, I think you did about 11,000 daily tests, which is the highest so far. What's the plan in terms of enhancing testing, especially as you try and chase the virus, not just outside of Mumbai, but outside of the state itself? Cities like New York are, for instance, doing 40,000 tests a day. What is the testing strategy now going to be?
No, yesterday we completed 500,000 tests, 5 lakh tests we did yesterday morning. In fact, yesterday it was 5.05 lakh testing. And when in Mumbai has been very transparent, I will tell you why. When we are doing testing, this out of this 5.05 lakh, 4.76 lakh is only RT-PCR, which means that we are, and there is in the figure of 500,000, there is zero rapid test. We have done a lot of rapid testing, but we are not including that because that is not a sure test. For example, Delhi says that they are doing 16, 17,000 tests in a day, but I say with full responsibility, and I make a statement once again now, that still Mumbai is number one in the country in RT-PCR, 4.76 lakhs. In Delhi, they add up antigen, all of the tests, and then they mention the total figure of the day.
Yes.
But in Mumbai, we say that like the backbone is antigen, RT-PCR only, and we are not compromising on that.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. RT-PCR is the gold standard. And yes, Mumbai is ahead as far as the RT-PCR is concerned. Let me ask you, Mr. Chahal, in terms of what the Sero survey is throwing up. Now, 3 wards have been have gone through that Sero survey sample. I understand that this is the first of the Sero surveys that has been undertaken. Now, that's showing up a picture which suggests that almost 57% in the slums that were surveyed have got the antibodies, whereas the picture is very different in the gated societies, gated communities. Now, how are you interpreting the Sero survey? How is it helping you to design and devise policy as well as testing strategy going forward? And when is the next round of the Sero survey that we can expect?
You know, the Niti Aayog, I'm grateful to Niti Aayog and Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, TIFR. They joined hands with us and they started the Sero survey to find out what is the status of antibodies in society at large. And it is very heartening to get the results of the first Sero survey in our slums of Daisar, then Matunga, then this Chembur, that 57% of the population during that big sample survey are found to have got antibodies and their IgG, which means that now they are immune from this particular issue of getting COVID. And I'm sure that this status is true for all the slums of Mumbai. And like everybody knows that more than 60% people in Mumbai live in slums. with 57% people getting antibodies, is very heartening news. At the same time, as far as gated communities, isolated buildings are concerned, this survey was done started about a month back. And if you see, in the last 1 month, right from 1st of July, 80% cases are now coming from buildings and only 20% from slums. And in the last 30 days, this virus has literally moved from the slums to the isolated buildings. For example, I'll give you one statistic that initially when we had 3,000 containment zones in the month of May, it came down to 750 containment zones last month, and today we have only 622 containment zones. They're falling by hundreds every month. Whereas these buildings, they have gone up. Now there are almost 6,000 plus buildings which are sealed buildings, where this virus has moved in. So I'm quite hopeful that in last 1 month, this antibody formation, which was 16 or 17% in the Sero survey, this also may have picked up in the last 1 month. Now we are doing the second survey starting from 10th of August. And the results will be available to us by end of August. There, I'm sure the picture will be even better for us.
Let me ask you, sir, since you vehemently said that you're all in favor of reopening and that you perhaps will not wait till the 31st of August to come up with the next set of reopen guidelines, you may do it midway as well if there is more comfort that you get. What is going to be the priority of reopening? Public transportation, local trains, restaurants, eateries. In order of priority, what are you going to be trying to roll out first?
You know, all these activities we mentioned, they're all, I would say, very critical and important. But the number one in this is our local trains. The moment we feel comfortable in the MMR area, this is first on our agenda that unless the trains open start off for the common public, things cannot become normal.
So can you give me a little more granularity, sir, on what will be the data point specifically that you will look at that will give you comfort to recommend the reopening of local trains?
Yeah, I would say that MMR must come to infection level of 1.0 at least.
What about returning of the marriage halls, banquet halls, hotels, etc., that were attached for the purposes of setting up institutional quarantine facilities? Given the fact that you now have vacant beds, including vacant ICU beds as well, is there a plan of returning this infrastructure? And what about the price cap order on private hospitals?
No, now since we are facing the gush of monsoon in Mumbai, now with monsoon comes a lot of non-COVID issues like malaria, dengue, then you have leptospirosis. With that in mind, we have already converted 9 of our own municipality hospitals from COVID to non-COVID last week. Similarly, there are 4 hospitals which are taken over in Borivali for COVID. We have released them. At the same time, some of the hotels also we have released. So as things are moving on, we are shedding off this COVID baggage.